There's a bizarre logic that has quietly infected the modern school system. It's a logic born from good intentions but fueled by paranoia and a profound disconnect from reality. This is the logic that classifies a child's breakfast as a weapon and treats basic human connection like a hazardous material. These aren't just funny anecdotes. They are symptoms of a much stranger and very real phenomenon happening right now. 1. Forget attendance sheets? One Texas school district decided the best way to track students was to treat them like FedEx packages. Every student was required to wear an ID badge with an embedded GPS tracking chip, their location monitored in real time. The administration sold it as a high-tech solution for funding and safety. Let's be honest, it was a digital leash, outsourcing parental anxiety to the school district. Big Brother isn't just watching, he's pinging your exact location in the boys' bathroom. 2. Have you ever wondered what school would be like if backpacks were illegal? Some administrators have, and they decided to find out. In an effort to curb contraband and eliminate tripping hazards, some schools banned backpacks from the classroom. The result? A hallway full of students desperately juggling an armload of textbooks, binders, and laptops. They look like they're fleeing a library that's on fire. It's a policy that treats a canvas bag like a national security threat, all to solve a problem that wasn't really a problem in the first place. 3. Some schools regulate birthday cupcakes. Others scrutinize party invitations. But one institution went for the jugular of joy itself. They banned birthdays. Period. No songs, no acknowledgements, no happiness. The reasoning? It was deemed unfair to the kids with summer birthdays who might feel left out. In this crusade against individuality, having the audacity to be born during the school year is now a social injustice that must be eradicated for the greater good. 4. Take a moment and think about the most fundamental human gestures. You probably thought of pointing. Well, a primary school in the UK banned it. The reason? It was deemed too aggressive and rude. Students were forbidden from using their index fingers to indicate direction. This is a rule that classifies a basic anatomical function as a behavioral infraction, leaving kids to communicate like they're playing a confusing game of charades all day, every day. 5. Public displays of affection are a common school rule, but some define affection with the cold precision of a surgeon. We're not talking about hallway makeout sessions. We're talking about the high crime of holding hands. An arm around a shoulder is treated like a gateway to anarchy. A friendly hug is a Class B misdemeanor. The hall monitor is no longer a student. They're an officer of the romance police, tasked with neutralizing any unauthorized outbreaks of human warmth. 6. For generations, kids have sat on the floor crisscross applesauce. It's the universal posture for story time. Well, now it's a biohazard. Some schools have banned this sitting position, citing concerns that it could harm developing hips or cut off circulation. You heard that right. A posture humanity has comfortably used since the Stone Age is now considered a high-risk activity, too extreme for the modern child. 7. Book bans are nothing new, but the logic behind banning Harry Potter reached a level of spectacular paranoia. The objection wasn't literary, it was literal. School boards genuinely argued the books were a gateway to the occult, a how-to guide for witchcraft. They weren't afraid of a story. They were terrified that second graders were about to launch a full-blown occult uprising from the monkey bars, fueled by imagination and fictional spells. 8. How do you best prepare students for the hyper-connected, fast-paced modern world? Simple. You ban its language. Certain schools have outlawed all acronyms in writing. No LOLs, no BRBs, not even an ASAP. This isn't just for term papers, it's for everything. It's a desperate attempt to turn students into living time capsules, perfectly preserving a version of English for a professional world that now only exists in black and white sitcoms. 9. Imagine a prison cafeteria, but with smaller tables. That's the mandatory silent lunch. To maintain a level of order usually reserved for libraries and crypts, some schools force students to eat in complete, unnerving silence. No talking, no laughing, just the grim symphony of chewing. This policy takes the one part of the day meant for social decompression and turns it into a daily dress rehearsal for solitary confinement. An idea so profoundly joyless, it must have been invented by someone allergic to happiness. 10. That little jolt of pride from getting a shiny sticker from your teacher? It's now contraband. Some schools banned them, not because they were distracting, but because they had become an unauthorized currency. Students created a black market, a Wall Street of holographic stars and glittery dinosaurs. Instead of seeing a brilliant, spontaneous lesson in economics, the administration saw a crime ring. And they shut down the entire sticker cartel. 11. In a breathtaking feat of logical gymnastics, some schools declared war on the classic chocolate bar fundraiser. The official enemy? Childhood obesity. So, to prevent kids from eating candy, they eliminate the funding for the soccer team's jerseys and the track team's equipment. It's a health initiative that actively prevents kids from being healthy. The logic here isn't just circular. It's a snake proudly eating its own tail. 12. What happens when a school mascot becomes problematic? You get a corporate rebranding exercise from another dimension. A high school in West Virginia, formerly known as the Indians, was required to pick a new name. After extensive deliberation, they landed on the Dots, as in the punctuation mark. They went from a proud warrior tribe to a grammatical symbol. Their opponents on the football field must have been trembling. 13. And now, we travel to Japan for a rule so uniquely bizarre, it deserves its own exhibit. A number of schools banned female students from wearing their hair in ponytails. The official justification was that exposing the nape of a girl's neck could sexually arouse male students. Let that sink in. Instead of teaching boys self-control, the solution was to regulate the gravitational pull on a girl's hair. It's a policy that manages to sexualize a body part most people just use for looking down at their phone. 14. Let's talk about breakfast. In Maryland, a 7-year-old boy was suspended for 2 days for wielding a dangerous weapon at school. The weapon? A Pop-Tart. He had nibbled the strawberry-filled pastry into a shape that school officials decided was a gun. No threats were made. No one was menaced. It was an act of culinary sculpture. But in the world of zero tolerance, an L-shaped breakfast food is indistinguishable from a firearm. It's a perfect example of a system where the rules have completely eaten the common sense. 15. Planning your kid's birthday party? You might need to lawyer up. Many elementary schools enforce a strict all-or-nothing invitation policy. You either invite every single child in the classroom, or you conduct your invitation distribution off-campus like a clandestine spy operation. The rule is meant to prevent hurt feelings, but it turns a simple party into a logistical nightmare. It forces parents to choose between renting a stadium for 30 screaming 8-year-olds or teaching their child the fine art of espionage. 16. Remember those simple woven friendship bracelets? A timeless symbol of childhood connection. Well, according to several school districts, they're now evidence of gang activity. In a desperate bid to look tough on crime, administrators have officially classified colorful yarn as a potential threat to school safety. Suddenly, your 10-year-old daughter and her best friend aren't just pals. They're the leaders of a powerful bead-based syndicate. 17. School spirit is great unless it's mandatory. Many schools have spirit days where participation isn't just encouraged, it's enforced. Fail to wear your shirt inside out on backwards day, and you might find yourself in detention. This isn't team building, it's compelled enthusiasm. It's forcing people to be wacky on command, which has the opposite effect of boosting morale. It's the emotional equivalent of a birthday party where you're ordered to have fun, or else. 18. The teacher's red pen, a universal symbol of feedback for over a century, has been classified as a tool of psychological warfare. In schools across the UK and Australia, marking papers in red ink is now forbidden. The argument is that the color is too aggressive and harms a student's self-esteem. Instead, teachers must use gentle, emotionally supportive colors like purple or green. So the feedback may still say, "This is a complete failure," but now it says so in a calming, lavender-scented hue. 19. Under the iron fist of zero tolerance, your school supplies become a potential armory. A student in South Carolina was suspended after her teacher sharpened her pencil. The resulting point was deemed excessively sharp and classified as a piercing weapon. Read that again. The teacher performed the action. The student received the punishment. Your standard number 2 pencil is now a concealed weapon. And that compass in your geometry set? You're basically a ninja. 20. How do you win a war against science? With a black marker. In New York, one school district banned the word dinosaur from all official materials because it implies the theory of evolution. Halloween was also axed for its pagan ties, and even dancing got the boot. Administrators would literally go through state-issued tests with a Sharpie, redacting every mention of the prehistoric creatures. It's an educational strategy that leaves kids pointing at a T-Rex skeleton in a museum and saying, "What was that giant angry chicken thing you're not allowed to name?" 21. The humble snowball fight, a sacred rite of winter, has been officially classified as a violent assault. Across America's snow belt, school districts have banned this timeless activity, making it a suspendable offense. The justification, as always, is safety. A stray snowball might cause an injury. It's the same flawless zero-tolerance logic that killed dodgeball, just applied to frozen water. They have successfully located the epicenter of winter joy and nuked it from orbit, leaving kids to stare at a pristine field of snow, instructed to appreciate its beauty from a safe, non-participatory distance. 22. A middle school in Oregon had a problem. Kids were using aerosol deodorant to trigger the fire alarms. Their solution? Ban all aerosol sprays. This seems logical for about 3 seconds until you remember the specific aromatic properties of a gymnasium full of 12-year-olds. In their quest to solve a minor prank, they unleashed a biological agent of mass destruction. It's the perfect example of a cure being infinitely more horrifying than the disease. Which would you prefer? A 5-minute fire drill or a permanent, inescapable cloud of adolescent despair? 23. To many, dodgeball is a game. But to a growing number of school districts, it's a tool of oppression. From Texas to Massachusetts, the game has been banned for promoting bullying and aggression. A national phys ed association even officially condemned it as an inappropriate activity. The classic red rubber ball is now treated with the same gravity as a war crime. The one gym class activity that taught reflexes, agility, and the pure primal joy of a perfectly aimed shot is now seen as the first step on the road to supervillainy. 24. Some schools ban tag, others ban running. But one Toronto school took it to its logical, soul-crushing extreme. They banned balls, all of them. Gone. Soccer balls, basketballs, even the humble bouncy ball, deemed too dangerous for play. The justification was a vague fear of safety incidents, operating under the principle that every sphere is a potential lawsuit in projectile form. They successfully identified the core component of fun and surgically removed it. 25. Valentine's Day, once a harmless festival of candy hearts and paper cards, is now too emotionally dangerous for children. Citing the same logic that led to the no best friends rule, many schools have banned the exchange of Valentines. The goal is to prevent the trauma of unequal affection. Instead of teaching kids resilience, the solution is to create an emotional vacuum where no one is ever allowed to feel special or disappointed. They didn't just ban the holiday, they banned the concept of having favorites. 26. Being late to pick up your child from school used to be an inconvenience. Now it's a business transaction. Schools across the country starved for cash and tired of waiting, have started fining parents by the minute for late arrivals. 5 minutes late? That'll be $5. Meeting ran over? Your bill is $15. They have successfully monetized parental anxiety. The school's front door has been transformed into a parking meter, and your kid is the car. It's a brilliant, if slightly dystopian, revenue stream. 27. This next one is a perfect symphony of stupidity. An elementary school in Washington banned the color green, not for gang affiliation or psychological reasons. They banned it for a single day, St. Patrick's Day. The principal argued that the tradition of pinching people not wearing green constituted assault. So, to stop the pinching, she didn't just ban the pinching. She banned the color that inspired it. It's a problem-solving strategy so magnificently backward, it belongs in a modern art museum. 28. At an elementary school in Massachusetts, the sacred childhood ritual of recess has been surgically neutered. First, they banned running on the playground. Then, they banned any game that involved touching, which means tag is now a historical artifact. The reason was, you guessed it, safety. The fear of a scraped knee had become more powerful than the need for children to play. The result is a playground that looks less like a place of joy and more like a TSA security line. 29. Many English teachers, bless their hearts, create lists of forbidden words to elevate student writing. Words like things, stuff, and especially the first-person I are sent to the gulag. The goal is to encourage more precise language. But in practice, it turns writing into an exercise in anxious self-censorship. Students become so obsessed with avoiding a banned word that their essays become stilted, lifeless prose. They're not learning to be better writers. They're learning to sound like lawyers dictating a legal document. 30. Here's a rule for anyone living in a cold climate. Students are often forbidden from wearing their winter coats in the classroom. The official logic is about saving space and preventing kids from hiding things in their pockets. The actual result is that students shiver their way through frigid hallways between classes, only to enter a warm classroom where they are forbidden from removing their state of discomfort. It's a policy seemingly designed by someone who has never been cold. 31. Few articles of clothing have been vilified quite like the simple hoodie. A Connecticut high school banned them completely, not because they were sloppy, but because they were a security risk. The hood, they argued, could be used to conceal a student's face from security cameras. This rule effectively assumes that every student trying to stay warm is also a potential cat burglar. It's a perfect piece of security theater that does nothing to enhance safety, but excels at making everyone more miserable. 32. What happens when grandmotherly love is reclassified as a public health threat? You get the modern school bake sale. Countless schools now have a total ban on homemade treats. Want to bring in birthday cupcakes? They must be store-bought and factory-sealed. This is done in the name of allergy prevention, but the outcome is bizarre. A fresh, homemade brownie is treated like a pipe bomb, while a mass-produced, chemically preserved hockey puck from a big box store is welcomed with open arms. 33. This one feels like it was unearthed by archaeologists, but it's still happening. There are schools that actively punish students for being left-handed. They treat it as a flaw to be corrected, sometimes forcing children to write with their non-dominant hand. It's a policy that takes a simple, harmless neurological variance and reframes it as a character defect. It's not just an outdated rule, it's a fundamentally medieval approach to education. 34. What if I told you the very concept of friendship was a safety hazard? In a mind-bending feat of social engineering, schools in the UK and US have banned students from having a best friend. The justification is a masterpiece of bureaucratic nonsense. It's to prevent the emotional pain of exclusion. So, to ensure no one feels left out, the solution is to ensure no one can ever feel truly included. It's a policy that treats a deep personal connection like a public nuisance, replacing it with a mandated, rotating carousel of shallow acquaintanceships. 35. The humble doodle, that idle drawing in the margins of your notebook, has been officially branded an enemy of learning. Numerous schools have a strict ban on doodling, viewing it as concrete evidence of a wandering mind. The beautiful irony? Study after study has shown that for many people, doodling actually improves focus and memory retention. In their crusade for the appearance of perfect attention, these schools have outlawed a scientifically backed study aid, all to keep the notebooks looking clean. 36. Ugg boots. They're soft, they're warm, and according to one Pennsylvania school, they're a national security threat. The school banned the popular footwear, not for being a fashion crime, but because students could allegedly use the boots to smuggle cell phones. In a single memo, a comfortable sheepskin boot was reclassified as a piece of spycraft. Suddenly, every student just trying to avoid frostbite was treated as a potential secret agent. Their footwear, a mobile contraband locker. 37. A California high school once famously banned skinny jeans. The reason wasn't modesty or dress code violations. It was because they believed the pants were a secret signal of gang affiliation. This reveals a cultural disconnect so profound it could be measured in light years. School officials looked at a global fashion trend worn by literally everyone and saw a cryptic message for organized crime. This isn't just a rule. It's a piece of administrative paranoia preserved in the amber of a student handbook. 38. The number one rule of the library is to be quiet. But for one school district, quiet was not quiet enough. They instituted a policy of absolute total silence. No whispering to a friend. No asking the librarian a question. If you needed help, you had to write your query on a slip of paper and slide it across the desk. They effectively turned a public resource for knowledge into a high-security manuscript vault, patrolled by the most terrifying shushers imaginable. 39. A school in the UK decided to purify the English language by force. They issued a blacklist of forbidden slang, targeting words like, in it, and even the thinking sound The goal was to foster a more eloquent and businesslike atmosphere. This is a noble, beautiful, and completely doomed effort. Trying to police teenage slang is like trying to mop the ocean. You're not creating a generation of polished orators. You're just creating a generation that's exceptionally good at not getting caught. 40. To solve the age-old problem of students asking for bathroom breaks, a Chicago middle school implemented a system of tyrannical genius: mandatory synchronized potty time. The entire class marches to the restroom together, 3 times a day. If you miss your scheduled launch window, you'd better have a bladder made of steel. It's an approach to education that treats students less like people and more like biological units on a factory assembly line, managed for maximum efficiency and minimum disruption. 41. There is a war on hugging. In schools from Florida to Oregon, this fundamental expression of human warmth has been outlawed. Citing nebulous concerns about inappropriate touching and personal space, administrators have made a simple embrace between friends a punishable offense. Instead of teaching children about consent and boundaries, they just banned affection entirely. It's a policy that turns school hallways into sterile, no-contact zones patrolled by the joy police. 42. What is the most random, pointless thing a school could possibly ban? An English school found the answer: cartwheels. They prohibited cartwheels and handstands anywhere on school property. Not just inside, but everywhere. There was no inciting incident, no epidemic of gymnastic injuries. Just a sudden, inexplicable crackdown on spontaneous acrobatics. It's a rule so bizarrely specific, you have to assume it was created by someone who is still deeply bitter about failing a gymnastics class in 1987. 43. According to many school dress codes, your hair can be a weapon of mass distraction, but only if it's the wrong color. Schools across the country have explicit bans on so-called unnatural hair colors: the blues, the pinks, the greens. The underlying message is that the mere sight of a student with turquoise hair is enough to derail the entire educational process for everyone else. It's a desperate attempt to keep the world in black and white. while the kids are already living in high-definition color. 44. Can you imagine being given official instructions on how to walk? Some schools don't want you to imagine it. They want you to live it. To enforce absolute order, they've implemented military-style hallway protocols. Students must walk in single-file lines on a specific side of a painted stripe. Some policies even dictate the acceptable walking speed. It turns the 5 minutes between classes from a social pressure release valve into a silent, joyless procession from one box to the next. 45. That basic classroom instinct, raising your hand to answer a question, has been deemed unfair. In parts of the UK, it's been banned to promote equality of participation. The logic is that the same eager kids always raise their hands. The solution? A system of random cold calling, often using popsicle sticks bearing student names. It transforms the act of learning into a low-stakes game of Russian roulette, where being prepared is no longer an advantage. It's a noble goal with the side effect of terrorizing shy kids and punishing enthusiasm. 46. Have you ever seen a condiment treated like a prescription narcotic? Welcome to the school cafeteria, where some districts enforce a strict 1 pump per student ketchup rule. You get 1 shot at the dispenser, and that's it. This isn't about saving money or promoting health. It's a pure, unadulterated power trip. It's about establishing absolute authority over the smallest, most trivial aspect of a student's life, turning ketchup into a government-rationed commodity. 47. School uniforms are one thing, but school-mandated hairstyles are another level of control entirely. Schools in the UK and South Africa have dress codes that regulate hair with surgical precision. We're talking rules that dictate the maximum length for a boy's hair, outlawing complex braids, and even specifying the exact type of hair tie you're allowed to use. It's less of a dress code and more of a human horticulture guide, written by a committee that clearly has too much time on its hands. 48. In Illinois, one school district waged war not on bullying or poor grades, but on choice. Specifically, the choice of marker color. Students were restricted to a single, officially sanctioned brand and color pack. No neons, no glitters, no pastels. The stated goal was to eliminate classroom jealousy and visual chaos. In reality, it was an art class redesigned as an assembly line for future middle managers, stamping out creativity one sad, classic-colored marker at a time. A system where logic has been replaced by liability. But let's try an experiment. Most of these rules seem completely indefensible, but which one isn't? I want you to pick the single rule from this list that you believe has a legitimate reason to exist, even if it sounds absurd on the surface. Make your case in the comments. Defend the one you think is secretly right. And if you appreciate sanity, show your support with a like and subscribe.